Hello ladies and gentlemen. So we are 2 weeks into 2021 and still facing a horrendous situation for the average customer on the GPU market. And this situation is not supposed to go away anytime soon. Depending on the region, you're either facing no stock at all or completely bloated prices. And while there are a lot of professional tech YouTubers out there covering everything about new releases and all that stuff, that doesn't really help you if you are unable to get your hands on a new card or are unwilling to pay these horrendous prices. Although your options as a customer are limited at the moment, I would like to briefly discuss them, maybe giving you a few fresh ideas, a new food for thought if you will, and putting things into perspective. First of all, let's take a look at what we as customers want and what we truly need, because that is a big difference. We all want our hands on the new and shiny GPUs.
Of course!
But do we really need them? So let's have a look at gaming PC specifications for 1080p and 1440p and what is commonly considered a decent setup for these specifications. So I prepared something for 1080p and 1440p. And don't freak out if you have a different opinion on parts, I will go through them, that's just an example here. I would like to talk about 5 different topics here, 5 different options you might want to consider if you are unable to get a GPU but still want or need to upgrade your system. First thing is upgrade anything on your PC except your GPU. And let's have a look at the system specifications for something like 1080p gaming. You have the CPU motherboard, I will come to that later. One very easy upgrade option is your RAM, especially if you're sitting on a pre-built system and maybe have a single channel RAM or sitting on 8 GB of RAM. And if you are interested in how much dual channel and single channel RAM setup can affect your gaming experience, please check David Does Tech. It's a very funny and professional channel and he constantly buys pre-builds and then switches things and shows you how to improve it. And single channel and dual channel RAM is a constant topic on his channel, so check it out. So, and even if you're sitting on a pre-build and you're not into PC building and you don't want to mess around with your PC, that's something very, very basic and easy to do. Just open the side panel, switch out the RAM, it should be easy accessible, and that's something everyone can do and it will not cost you an arm and a leg. The next easy option to upgrade your system would be the storage system. Now I have put here storage 1 and storage 2, and while M.2 storage is very fine, especially for something like running Windows on it, you don't need it in terms of gaming performance. So an SSD hard drive is perfectly fine to improve your gaming experience if you're sitting on a very old generation SSD or on a mechanical hard drive. And that again is a very easy, not very expensive option to switch something out in your system. Now, the more complicated thing here would be to change your CPU and motherboard combination. Now you'll find here a Ryzen 5 3600 and a B550 motherboard. I chose that because this would provide the best upgrade path, because you don't have to switch your motherboard if you want to step up and go to the next generation of Ryzen CPUs. But if you are playing on 1080p and more focusing on competitive gaming, I would switch this out for an Intel equivalent CPU, because you get a better performance in this generation where you face a Ryzen 5 3600 versus an Intel 10th generation CPU. But if you are playing more AAA games and want to have a nice upgrade path without switching the motherboard again, I would recommend going for AMD 3600 and a B550 motherboard combination. And just today, as I record the video, Hardware Unboxed released a very informative and nice video about CPU performance affecting your gaming experience. So before I try to explain it, check that video out, it's very, very good. So before considering buying a new GPU, try to upgrade anything but your GPU. It's a little bit like preparing your bedroom for the hot date that you are expecting. Now for my next point, let's have a look at what gamers are using in terms of GPU hardware right at the moment, according to Steam Hardware Survey December 2020. As you can see, most people still using a 1060. And if you take all the GTX 1000 series cards together, you will reach a whopping 37.6% of gamers still using a GTX 1000 series card. Now, if you have a card of this series, you are perfectly able to play any AAA game around 50 or 60 frames per second, maybe not on the highest settings, but even games like Cyberpunk 2077 run with a few adjustments on 50 plus frames per second on high settings with very few adjustments in terms of visual downgrades. If you want more details on that, please check out my video about that, especially for Cyberpunk 2077. But if you place a GTX 1060 in a system like this that you see on the screen, you will be perfectly capable of playing anything you want, maybe not on the highest settings, but with decent frame rates on high settings. Now, if you are still using an older card, you might even consider buying a 1060 or something like that as a pure placeholder card, as crazy as it might sound, just to wait until the market has settled and everything is back to normal. A 1060 on eBay as a used card might cost you around 140 to 160 bucks, maybe 180. But you will be able to sell this card in 3 or 4 months for nearly the same amount of money. You will maybe lose 20, 30, maybe 40 euros, but that's nothing considered to the bloated prices you have to face when you want to buy a new GPU right now, and you will perfectly fine for the next few months. Which leads me right into the third point. Have an eye on eBay and the second-hand market. For example, here in Germany, after Christmas, we saw a high availability of 3070 cards, and we saw the prices decreasing by 20, 30, 50 euros. So you were able to get a 3070 for 660, 680, 650 euros here in Germany right after Christmas. And right now the prices are picking up again. So have an eye on your watch list, keep tracking the market, keep tracking the prices, keep tracking the availability, make yourself familiar with the market situation, and if you are able to strike a deal, go for it. So keep an eye on eBay and the other sites. For my fourth point, let's switch to 1440p for a moment. It is a bad time to try to upgrade from 1080p to 1440p. Just delay that for maybe 3 or 6 months, because that is a bad idea right now. But if you already have the horsepower for 1440p gaming, like a 5700 XT or an RTX 2070 Super, you might be able to sell your old card for a very high price, and then of course you need to pay a very high price for an RTX 3070, for example. But if you're just paying the same amount of money, so the price gap for your upgrade is the same, then you might consider that. So again, check eBay and the other sites. If you're sitting on something like a 5700 XT Red Devil, that is worth like 500 euros right now on eBay. And then an RTX 3070 would be something around 700 euros. So that's a 200 euro gap. That is more or less the same like the original price of 400 euros for the Red Devil and the 550, 580 euros of the board partner cards for an RTX 3070. So if you're able to sell high, you are able to buy high. And if it's the same amount of money you spend, just go for it. And the last thing here I would briefly want to talk about is overclocking and undervolting your GPU. If you never considered overclocking for your old GPU, like a 1060 or a 1660 Super or something like that, maybe look up a few guides and you might be able to get 5 to 10% performance increase for free. Just for spending some time looking up a few videos. If you're using an AMD, you can use my video for overclocking and undervolting an AMD GPU. But yeah, that's another point, 5 to 10% performance upgrade for free if you never considered overclocking so far. So to sum things up, what are your options if you're not able to get a new GPU for different reasons? Upgrade anything in your system but your GPU. considering buying an old GPU just as a placeholder and wait until the dust have settled on the market and everything is back to normal. Watch the second-hand market, keep an eye on eBay and wait for a good deal maybe for your old card or buying a new card. The next point would be, don't upgrade to 1440p right now, and if you have a card that is able to run 1440p, you might be able to strike a very nice sale price right now, and then you can upgrade although the prices are high. And the last point would be, considering overclocking your old GPU, dig your heels into some guides and maybe you get a nice performance increase for absolutely free. So I hope this video was able to give you some fresh ideas, some food for thought, and put things a little bit into perspective. And if you like this video, please leave a comment, subscribe and hit the like button. And most importantly, take good care of yourself.